Cool. So I have my good friend John Green on with me today, and he is not only a legendary producer in news and television, but also now the author of some amazing kids' books. So
Thank
without
you.
any further ado, my good friend John Green, folks.
Oh,
Woo!
thank you. I hope I can live up to the amazing introduction that you gave me. Thank you. It's great to see.
No, you will. You will. So anyway, I want to bring you on the show because I have a couple books myself, as you know. So I know what goes into writing books. And I know that the process is definitely a process. So the first question that I wanted to kick off with you is, did you ever see yourself, A, writing books, but two, writing kids' books and writing two at the same time? So it's like the triple threat of questions.
Yeah, well, I kind of fancy myself a writer in that I have been doing journalism for 30 years. I started as a news writer doing, news writing for a local news station in Boston. Then I got my dream job as a producer at Good Morning America at ABC headquarters in New York. And a lot of what we do as TV producers is write.
Mm.
But I don't know that I ever saw myself writing books per se. And if I did think that I might write a book one day, I was probably thinking more novel.
Mm.
But everything changed 8 years ago when these two miracles were born. And it's really interesting, Dana, because I always go back to that moment. I'm in the delivery room and, I see my babies for the first time. And I was a 45-year-old first time dad, and I had just been diagnosed with cancer,
Mm.
and there was really no guarantee about what my future would be. And I remember kind of being so incredibly full of gratitude and joy at seeing my kids that I made a promise to myself and to a higher power that I would try to pay it forward as much as I could in my life, and also fulfill some of my own personal um, hobbies and desires that I had been putting off for years,
Mm.
because I was getting a sense at that moment that life is so precious and you have to do what you want. And I didn't know what I wanted to do outside of my regular career, but
Yeah.
basically what happened, 3 years later, my kids are having trouble getting to sleep at night. My son, AJ, was having a problem because he was so scared of nightmares. My daughter's problem was a little different. She didn't want to be alone at night. So putting them to bed, I created rituals for them that I thought would comfort them and help them get to sleep feeling safe and secure. And those rituals became the basis for these two books.
Yeah, no, it's cool. When we were talking over the summer, you had given me insight into the books as to why you wrote them. And more and more over the past month or two, I've been talking to clients that are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that have issues sleeping. It's like the number one thing that I'm seeing right now. So I'm wondering, if a lot of these situations could be corrected by correcting these or creating great sleep habits and techniques for kids through books and creating comfort and creating a nice safe environment for kids. I'm wondering if it plays out later for kids that haven't had that, if they deal with that their whole life, have trouble sleeping.
And I'm really glad that you answered that question, but I don't want to go any further without saying that you and I share something really important, which is a love for kids. And
Mm.
I have to say right back at you that what you've done with your kids' books is amazing. And I see in your kids' books that you've recognized that kids needs positive affirmation, that they need a sense of identity, that they need to have really good self-image. And I see that in why you wrote your books. And to your question, that's exactly why I wrote these books.
Mm.
I wrote these books because I do think a lot of kids at nighttime, they suffer with going to bed feeling scared, insecure. It's an old one, scared of the dark, scared of monsters at night.
Yeah, the
And some of,
boogeyman.
yeah, and I think anything that you can do, anything that I can do to help kids go to bed using their creativity and learning how to try to train their minds to steer away from negative thoughts to
Mm.
more positive and uplifting thoughts. I don't think there's an age at which you can be too young for that practice to start. And I still, to this day, my kids are 8 years old and they kind of get what I'm trying to do, but I still go in their rooms at night when they're going to bed. And if they have something negative to say, I acknowledge it. And then I
Mm.
immediately try to train their minds on something positive, because we know that when you go to bed feeling anxious and nervous, as so many people are right now, especially during the pandemic, you don't sleep well.
Yeah.
And kids need a lot of good sleep to grow.
You know what I think is great is that you actually, it sounds like you allow them to present the negative as opposed to some parents, they shun the negative, right? You're not, they try to get the child to no longer have a negative thought, where you actually said something great, where you said, I let them acknowledge it. Because if you don't acknowledge it, it doesn't mean it's not there. It's there within the kid, but you're almost promoting them to bury it.
Yeah, that's Dana. You're so right, and that's another reason why I can't wait for you and your beautiful wife Lauren to have children, because your instincts are spot on, and you haven't had the benefit of 40 odd, well now over 50 years for me to kind of learn things,
Yeah.
and you already have that down. Absolutely. I never want my kids to have like a sanitized version. Clearly, there are some things that I shield them from, some realities about life and stuff. But as they get older, I'm learning to be much more honest with them about what they're seeing on TV, what the racial protests were about, trying to make them understand a little bit as we're going through this kind of contentious election, how important it is to value everyone's opinion and to
Mm.
listen to everybody's opinion, whether you agree with it or not. Yeah, I don't want them to grow up with this image that everything is sunshine and roses, because then
Yeah.
they'll be in for some rude awakenings as they get older.
Yeah, it sounds like too you're arming them with some good life skills, and I think a lot of parents that's a balance that they struggle with. I want them to be kids, and I want them to, enjoy being kids and stay free spirited, but at the same time, I want to prepare them, for the world, both the good and the bad that is going to be in the world that they will be participating in.
Absolutely. I would say that I think the three greatest things that we can do for our children is give them, one, a sense of security, that they're safe. Two, a sense of joy, so that they know how to find joy in everything in life. And they understand that when life isn't joyful, that it will eventually be joyful when you work through the pain. And then the
Yeah.
third thing is just a realistic sense of what life is. Life is not, it's not like this. It's like this. and
Mm.
and it's never too early for kids to learn that that's what it is, and it doesn't matter if you're 10, 20, 50, or 80. That's the up and down of life.
Yeah, I find too some parents that totally shelter their kids, you know, just a little bump and a little hill could really push them back, sometimes to the point where they feel defeated for quite some time, and then the kids are enrolling in different sort of therapeutic programs to help them overcome when it was literally just a little hill. But because of not being exposed to any resistance or even any education as it relates to the real world, the child is, you know, just off
Absolutely.
kilter.
It's biological. It's the same thing with the immune system. If you don't expose young children to, the things, those microbes in the air, they don't
Yeah.
they don't build up a resistance, and they get sicker over and over and over again. So that's why we tolerate sending our kids to preschool and having them come home with colds every 2 weeks, right?
Getting us sick too, right?
Yeah.
No, it's super cool. So I did want to go over just the process too of writing the book. How was it for you? I mean, you're obviously doing a lot of high level stuff at work, and not that writing a kid's book is low level stuff, but it forces your mind into a different place because you're thinking like an adult in a competitive, journalism environment, and now you have to think like a child in some ways, but also like an adult. How was that transition for you?
Well, I guess that's one thing that I can say that I'm thankful about with regard to the pandemic. I live about an hour and a half outside of New York City, as you know, so I have a mega commute. But starting in, I think, early March, um, I was working by remote. And so suddenly I had 3 hours of my day,
Mm,
and, what do I do with that 3 hours? And obviously I wanted to give as much of that time as I could to my kids, but at some point they get sick of me.
Yeah.
So I finally, I finally, I finally sat myself down and looked at the notes that I had written like 3 years ago when my kids were going through these problems. And I think what I tried to do is not so much um, kind of um, remember exactly what I said to them, but more try to remember how my words made them feel.
Hmm.
And by remembering how my words at the time settled them and helped them get to sleep feeling happy and secure, somehow the words just flowed out. And I wrote them, I wrote the books in verse. Because my kids love rhyme, and I think a lot of kids like rhyme, and um, that took, that took a little bit of fancy footwork, but it was a lot of fun, and the whole experience. I mean, listen, I would encourage anybody that has an idea for a children's book to go for it. It was a lot of fun, and the best part for me was actually the part of working with a really talented illustrator.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I can show you, like, here's the picture of a cover of the book that that's called Dream Grabber, and that's a skinnier, younger version of me. I'm raising my hand to say that this was me about 10, 15 years ago, and about 40 pounds lighter. But this looks exactly like my son.
Oh, that's
It looks
awesome.
exactly like my son, and this is his bedroom. And this is the one that I wrote based on my time spent with my daughter at night, Dream Jumper, and that's her name, Francesca. And what's interesting about working with an illustrator is that I purposely did not share any photos.
Hmm.
No photos of my kids. I wanted to see what she came up with solely based on my description of what my kids looked like.
Very
And,
cool.
and she did an amazing job. So that part of it was so much fun.
Isn't it? It's amazing. Some of these illustrators, they're really good listeners, and they have a way of turning words into images, and images that are not just images, but images that, number one, look like many of the people that we describe, but they even capture some of the mannerisms, and that those are the talented ones.
Yeah,
Super cool.
absolutely. And one of the things that I love about your books is that, like, I've shown your books to my kids, and one of the reasons why they love your books is because the way that you illustrate them, they look like kids that my kids would want to be friends with,
Yeah.
right? And that's why I'm kind of a fan of more actualized illustrations and not like stick figure illustrations, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yep.
Because I
I'm
think,
with you.
yeah, that's kind of why I wanted the illustrations to be very lifelike.
Yeah. I think too, when you write this book, right? This is my journey, and yours may be totally different. I also I'm thinking about the kid, but I'm also thinking about the parent that's reading to the kid. And I write and say, hey, by me writing this book, what can I give not only to the kid, but what can the parent take and apply? I'm not writing for the parent, but I am also. I don't know if you consciously did that, or it wasn't even on your radar, or maybe it totally was.
Yeah, it was definitely on my radar, and I'll tell you for a very specific reason. So my kids have two dads. They do not have a mom. They live in a very loving, happy home with two dads. And when I was doing the books, I realized that a lot of their friends, if not all of their friends, when they go to bed at night, their moms are the ones that put them to bed. Their moms are the ones that go in and deal with the problems that kids face at night. And I don't know if that's common everywhere or if it's just the way that it is socialized that mom takes care of bedtime for kids.
Hmm.
But one of the things that I wanted with these books is to encourage more dads, gay, straight, whatever, all dads to engage in more of these bedtime rituals, because those are the nurturing moments that I think mean so much to the kids that they'll remember when they get older. And I think that dad brings a unique perspective to it.
Yeah, I would say that's what they're not getting. Most kids, I would say, and I don't want to use the word most. A lot of kids, I get to work with kids when they're in their adolescent years, or when they're obviously moving into the early adult years, just through my coaching. And I think nurturing is what so many of them need. And because most of my coaching, when I really break it down, I'm nurturing people, which means that probably they didn't get enough of it at some point in their life.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I've always wondered that about you because you're so good at motivating people and getting people to see their potential and in an athletic sense and but I've always wondered like if you in working so closely with athletes and other people that you've trained through the years, if they open up to you and somehow these kind of deficits from childhood come out when you're working with them.
Almost always. Almost always.
Really?
Yeah, and it's wild. So that's why like I love the fact that you wrote kids books, and I love, kids books that are practical, right? They have something deeper than just a nice little story. You're working with the kid's mind to get them to a place. For you it's getting them to a place of deeper sleep. For me it's helping them to handle life situations. um and sleep is a life situation too. So it's just cool when you can get ahead of things and start at the younger, with the kids basically. So
Absolutely. I'm
so
looking at your, I'm sorry, I'm looking at your t-shirt and I'm just thinking like I just adore you and Lauren so much, and you are a champion, Dana. You really are. I mean, your parents, speaking about parenting, your parents did such an amazing job. They really
thank
did.
you. Yeah, well, we love you guys too. Obviously, it's always we don't go to the great state of New Jersey that often, but when we do, we always come back with a great story.
Okay.
I mean, we're still talking
Okay.
about our trip, a
All right.
couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I know, but don't even think of knocking New Jersey, okay? It's
All
not
right,
it's
fine.
not
Jersey
all
strong. Jersey strong.
it's not the Jersey that you see on the opening of Sopranos, all industrial and toxic and stuff like that. No, we love. I am not originally from the East Coast. I grew up in the Midwest in St. Louis, Missouri, but this part of New Jersey where we live is, as you know, because you've been to my home, it's kind of semi-rural, and there are big open spaces, and a lot of parks, and great schools for the kids. And I love it. I
Yeah.
never thought I'd be like, you know, rah 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 Jersey Jersey, but I'm a Jersey boy now.
But that's a little hidden gem, where you guys are too. It reminds me actually a lot of, where we were in some areas of Westchester. You're outside the city, a good hour plus. And yeah, you have that acre of property. You have these little oases that people call home. It's just a different vibe. So I'll agree with you. I take back Jersey. I don't not like Jersey. I'm just a New York guy. We travel through New Jersey, or we go to Giant and Jet games.
Right.
Or we see you guys.
Well, and those New Jersey sports fans are every bit as loud and vigorous as the New York sports fans, and you probably remember that from your time working up here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So true. So John, I wanted to ask you too, because I think a lot of parents are dealing with this now, and you're dealing with it in real time. You have this high profile job. You got a lot going on, but you're a husband and you're also a parent. How have you dealt with all of this over the past 6+ months?
Oh, it's so mind bending. I know it is for everybody. It's really, really, um, it's become even more interesting and challenging in our home because my 91-year-old mother-in-law, who I adore, who's immunocompromised, came to live with us 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay, I got it. Yeah.
It's such a delight to have her here, but it amps up the anxiety level even more about keeping everybody safe. So listen, this has been trying, just logistically trying. I have two full-time jobs basically. I'm a full-time executive producer at ABC News, but I also help Robin Roberts, as you know, run the production company Rock and Robin Productions, and that alone keeps me working now mostly on the computer a good 10, 12 hours a day. But the kids, because both, my mother-in-law and I are at an elevated risk, and me with my history of cancer, we decided to do the all virtual option. So I have two kids in second grade in my house doing full-time school. It's been really complicated. Anthony, Anthony, he's a powerhouse. Anthony has risen to the challenge, and he puts up with my sloppiness and does a lot of things to help keep us on track. But it's definitely challenged us, and it's definitely made us much more humble, I think, in
Right.
many ways, and very grateful to have what we have.
Yeah. What would you say? What are your biggest takeaways? Like the real positives, things that maybe you weren't able to do, when you were so entrenched in, the 3 hour commute, round trip.
Yeah, easy. That's easy answer. Face to face time with my kids.
Yeah.
My kids. My kids, when I would come home from the city, I would get in 8:30 p.m. from the city. I wouldn't see them in the morning because I left before they got up. So I had precious little time face to face with them during the week. Now there's so much of me, they're getting sick of me. So
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but you know what I mean. That's been the one really really bright spot about this is the really um, hands-on parenting time that I've been able to have.
Yeah. I asked that question a lot, and that's actually the one thing a lot of parents say is like they also realize how much time they're away from home, and it's like, wow, I'm spending most of my life away from home and most of my time working, and I have to reacquaint myself with my family, which is wild.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot these days about a lot of kind of domestic strife and all the stress that's going on in many families. What I'm seeing, at least with my friends, is just the opposite. I'm seeing that sense of pulling together to get each other and the whole family through this crisis that we've been living through, and that's been the case in my house, and I'm really grateful that it's been that way.
Yeah. So with your going back to the books, I got to get you to hold them up one more time.
Okay, all right.
I'm taking care of the promo here. All right.
So this is Dream Jumper. Dream Jumper is based on a real bedtime ritual that I created for my daughter, Francesca. As I said earlier, she was afraid of going to bed because she didn't want to be alone at night, and she was afraid that she would miss us. And so I created a story. I told her at the time that I had magic powers as her father, that I could jump into her dreams with her. All we needed to do was together, we needed to think of some amazing, fun adventure that we could go into together in a
Mm,
dream. And once I went to my room and went to bed, and she stayed in her room and went to bed, I would jump into her dreams with her, and she loved that. And every
that's
night
cool.
she would invent these different dreams. Like this one on the cover is Francesca and I sliding down a rainbow into a pool of teddy bears, and that's just one of the many dreams that she wanted to have. And that's how I created Dream Jumper. And then my son, AJ, his issue was nightmares. Like he was typical, like I'm afraid of monsters and what could happen to me when I fall asleep in terms of nightmares. And so for him, I started telling him that I had magic powers as his dad to see the bad dreams that are hiding in his head and to take them out. And I would say, close your eyes, and I'm going to take them out of your head. And I'd find one up here, and I'd find one in his ear, and I'd find one in his chin. And then he'd open his eyes real wide, and I'd say, they're in my fists, and I'm going to just scrunch them up, and I'm going to throw them to the sky and get rid of them. And then he started saying, well, now there's nothing in my head. I said, wait a second, there's another part of the magic. You can't see it, but I can see good dreams that are floating invisibly in the air. And that's another magic power that I have. So let me grab some. And I'd grab one here and I'd grab one there, and he'd be looking up and he'd be trying to see them. And then I'd have them in my fists and I'd say, close your eyes again. And then I would rub them on the top of his head, and then he'd open his eyes and he'd have a big smile on his face. And that was what created, that was the impetus behind Dream Grabber.
Yeah, that's cool. I always love talking to authors and understanding just where they're coming from and what led to the end result, which is a beautiful book. Because it's a fun journey, and just to capture, now you have that experience with your kids captured forever, in a book.
Yeah.
They're gonna get older, and maybe someday, hopefully, they use those books with their kids, so it could stay within the lineage.
Yeah. And that again, I think that I mean, how many times have you heard somebody say, oh, I could write a book? You can write a book. Life
Yeah.
is a book, right?
Yeah.
You have things that you have said, to your husband, your wife, your kids, your parents, things that you've done that have become rituals in your life. Why not create a book out of it?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's super cool. Like, I think everybody should write a book, because if you write a book, even if it's just a book that you don't plan on selling, but you write a book about yourself, you write a book about your life, you write a book about your family, everything in real time, it's a cool memento to have, and something that you could share again, just through the generations of your family. It's like this book could continue to travel, which may be a book in itself, like the magic book.
Exactly. Lo, think about it. I mean, a few years from now, when you and Lauren have kids and they're old enough to read, they'll be at the children's library and they'll see your books,
Yeah.
and that'll be a source of pride for them. I absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
it's super fun. John, I wanted to ask you a question about being a parent,
yeah.
right? And what do you enjoy most about it?
I think that I'm kind of a teacher at heart.
Hmm.
I used to teach French and Spanish when I was in grad school to just make some extra money to get myself through, and it tapped into some kind of inner desire that I must have to be a teacher. I ended up not staying in that profession, but one of the things that I love most about being a parent is just that um, the opportunity to help teach them and to see them learn and to
Hmm.
be there when things catch on, and not just book things, but realizations about life and realizations about relationships. And it's incredible. I mean, it's a cliche, but as the kids get older, just see every point of development and how cognitively they can grasp things now that even 6 months ago they couldn't grasp.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It gives me a kick. And I just listen. I say to people that you know the big game changer becoming a parent is that suddenly your life is not about you anymore, and
Hmm.
you can let go of that vanity, and because everything about your life now is or it should be about making your kids' lives as good as they can be and setting them up for success as adults. Or at least
Yeah.
that's my perspective on parenting.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting. It's, just again, I get to talk to a lot of people, which I'm lucky for myself. And, I talk to a lot of younger professionals, younger, 25, 30, even 35. And, so many of them feel as if children may actually inhibit their professional growth. And that's truth. A lot of people do think that way today, in the professional space. But it sounds like you get so much more back from your kids that it probably makes you just a better person, better in general.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a general rule, I try not to, judge whether a person with children or without children is better off.
Yeah.
I can only say from my own experience as a parent that it's brought infinitely more joy to my life and made me a better person, a more patient person.
Hmm.
And in terms of how that interfaces with work, I definitely now have a much better. I manage people where I work, and so before, where I may not have really understood the challenges that working moms and working dads face, I get it now. I
Yeah.
totally get it, and so I'm glad that that light bulb went off for me.
Yeah. I have a friend that runs a medical practice in Greenwich. And he says, listen, I'm so glad I had kids, because running my office is like running a kindergarten class. He's like, so I feel like it's made me better, so
Oh yeah,
I,
I've been in some meetings where I've had to employ some of the same tactics that I've employed with my kids when they're getting rowdy.
yeah,
Definitely, yeah,
there you go. I think we're all kids at heart, right?
absolutely.
So with this book, I have to ask you, do you think you're going to write more? I mean, did you enjoy the experience? I know you want to see how these are still in their infancy. We're still getting these things out and pushing them across the world, but do you see yourself writing more in the kid space?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I'm not going to give up my day job. I love television production and journalism, and that will always be my primary passion professionally. But this has been a kick. It's been really great, and you know, I definitely think there are more books to be written specifically about bedtime. And so I actually created a website, timetodreambooks.com,
Hmm.
because I think that there are definitely more ideas swirling around in my head, that are stories that parents could read to their children at bedtime, to kind of, as I said earlier, get them, incentivize the kids to like tap into positive thought and creativity, and to use those precious moments at bed before they fall asleep to filter out the noise, filter out the stress, because I think kids as young as 4, 5, and 6 years old feel stress. You
Mm,
know, if it's not
definitely.
their own stress, they absorb the stress from their parents or from other relatives who are stressed out. So I have an idea for at least two other books that
Yeah.
will help address some of those issues.
How about even screen stress, just from the iPad and all that? Parents, it's easy to get the kids on the iPad. It's probably a lot harder to get them off, but yeah, I know I when I'm on my phone, I take on a lot of stress for some crazy reason.
Oh,
I feel it.
I telling you, right now, my struggle is my son, AJ. Forget about clutching onto a teddy bear. He won't let go of the phone because he's addicted to Roblox. You know what
Mm,
Roblox is?
I don't know if I want to know.
Oh, you
I
got
I don't
listen.
want to get addicted myself.
Any anybody with kids that are between the age of like 7 and 10 knows what this is. It's an interactive app game thing for kids where they build a virtual person. They have an avatar, and they have a virtual life, with a house and
Oh, yes, I've heard of
like
this.
that. It's crazy. And if I don't kind of censor AJ, he'll literally stay on that for 10 straight hours and not look up.
Wow.
Yeah, he'll forget to eat, he'll forget to go to the bathroom. And I see this with other kids. So right now, I actually have the challenge of him wanting to stay and play with that game, at night, and I got to get those electronics out of their hands. I have to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Because if you think about, when you grew up, even when I grew up, we didn't have these things. Like our electronics were so basic. It was like Sega if you had it, or there's very simple sort of electronics relative today where you didn't feel that sort of
Do you remember?
addiction.
Do you remember electronic football? My favorite one was electronic football. Maybe that's like 10 or 15 years before you. It
Just
was.
a touch before me. The
Oh,
earliest I
okay.
could remember is like Atari.
Oh, Atari. Okay, like a
That
traditional video game.
Yeah, yeah.
That went
I
on. That
mean,
went on your TV.
or yeah, like Game Boy, or like those,
Yeah.
the handheld type stuff. I remember that. But if you think about those screens, they were very pixelated. They were very they didn't have the same capture as
Yeah.
today. So I just feel like, how does that play into the development of kids long term? I mean, I know, they're more technologically advanced, but is it, you're in the creative world, that's where you spend a lot of your time. I mean, how is this going to affect creativity and just authenticity of thought and creation? That's what I've always wondered, because I know for me it kills it. So the more I'm off my phone, the more creative I get. The more I'm on it, the less creative I get. So I'm wondering how it's going to play out for kids.
Yeah. I wonder too, Dan. I mean, we have to wait and see. But I definitely think there are pros and cons to it. Like, you have to have technology in your life, and our
Yeah.
kids as they get older are going to definitely need to have a lot of technology, to be successful in whatever field they choose. I think it's about discipline, just like anything else,
Yeah.
just like training people like you do. If you overdo it, you're going to harm yourself, right?
Yeah, it's true. Lauren and I talk about that a lot. I'm like, I could go to the gym 7 days a week, and I'm the one that always ends up with like a back spasm or something. And I'm like, wait, I'm at the gym, and it's like, well, maybe that's the problem, right? It's like where we, some of us, myself, have these extreme personalities where it's like, just keep going, more, more, more. I can do it all, but that could also be harmful in a lot of ways as well.
Listen, Dana, if you don't want to go to the gym 7 days a week, you can definitely go 2 or 3 times for me. How does that
That's how
sound?
I could justify it. You see,
There you go.
I'm here for John.
That's right.
No, it's true, but we all have to. I think balance is definitely important, and also, again, like you said, the discipline side of things. We have to be disciplined, and as a parent, you have to be disciplined, right? Like you said, those dads have to be disciplined enough to say, "Hey, this is important time for me to put my kids down for the night. I need to be disciplined enough to go do that."
Yep.
So,
Right
yeah,
on.
I think we're all in this together. We're all learning, and it's amazing how parents have been having children for years, and we're still trying to figure out how to get this process just right.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
it's work in progress.
not to get back to the gym, but that's definitely one thing that's fallen by the wayside during the pandemic. So I'm going to need you to get me back in shape at some point.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I don't even know. I don't know if I told you guys, but I grabbed a workout at your house a couple months ago. It
Yeah,
was Sunday morning.
that's right.
Everybody was sleeping. I went down and I got a pump in there. So
I know.
you got a great gym.
And how pathetic am I that I have a full gym that I have a full gym in my house and I haven't used it in 6 months.
Yeah, it's right. It's right there. It's
Uh,
ready to go. So I christened it. It's ready for you.
well, let me throw a question to you. Okay, so what do you say to the busy parent that's got a lot of responsibility and is very disciplined in everything except one area, which is health and wellness? How do you get that person to see the light?
Yeah. So you know what? I have a couple clients that I work on with this, and they want to stay bringing the kids involved. I start with this. I say, listen, you're a busy executive. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about how each day you could have a moment of joy with your kids. So I'm thinking of one gentleman in particular, and his daughter loves to cook. So they cook together in a healthy way, and that's his moment of joy. And together they're producing healthy food for the house, right? In terms of what they're eating for dinner and what they're having for lunch and the other meals now that most people are home. So they're working together. So, fitness doesn't have to necessarily be, or wellness doesn't have to be this laborious situation. The problem is people are bored of gyms. They're bored of, oh, I got to go on the elliptical. But can you get your kids involved? Can you do something different? Like a game of tag is as good for a kid as it is the father or
Mhm.
the mother, right? So we just don't move enough. So we've just said in our head today, fitness equals gym, or fitness equals spin class, or fitness equals putting myself in an uncomfortable schwitzing situation, and just I don't want to be in that. And that's okay. So I always begin with people and say, what is it that you like to do? I could tell you to eat kale all day long, but if you don't like kale, you're not going to eat it. So what are some other things that you like? And that's how you build somebody a custom nutrition plan and menu. But that's also the same way you attack their health and fitness and their overall wellness as it relates to their physicality. What is it that you like to do? Like, I love to walk. So
Mhm.
I would try to walk in the morning, I try to walk in the afternoon, and I try to walk at night. 3 laps ends up being like 1,300 steps for me in our neighborhood. But I'm doing something I like.
Yeah,
Sometimes I listen to a podcast, sometimes I listen to nothing, and sometimes I do a phone call. Um,
yeah.
one of my old clients was, when he first started training, he didn't want to do anything. So I literally laid him, we started with massage. So I just worked on him and massaged him, stretched him, and he started to feel good. And then, he's a business guy. He loves to talk and he loves to walk. So we coined the walk and talk,
Okay.
and we would do a good 35-minute walk and you feel good. So, everything has to be specific to the individual. That's what I found. And anytime you try to box people in, you end up hurting them because they're not going to do it. So,
Yeah, that's very good advice. Yeah.
so, you know, you guys have a great neighborhood. You could just do a walk, come back in, back around. Good to go.
Absolutely. And at least one of my kids, Francesca, she likes to walk with me. That's another thing that we have in common. I like to
Yeah.
walk too.
Yeah.
I have like a
And
2 mile walk that I take in the neighborhood whenever I can. I just have to, I have to do it like every day. and
Yeah.
not just, like once or twice a week.
Well, John, again, just talking about inclusion with the kids, even if the kids are on their bikes and you're walking, or you're all walking together, it's good habits that you're creating too, so.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's really good exercise that surprised me. So I'm coaching my kids' soccer team this year.
Okay.
And I never thought of coaching as that physical, but when I'm running around with the boys on the field and I'm putting them through drills, by the end of the end of the practice or a game, I'm drenched in sweat. It's
Yep.
great. Yeah.
It is. I think more parents should coach just for the exercise component.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it's fun. And again, you're in it with them, but you ever watch like a basketball coach in the college ranks specifically, they're drenched, they're in suits and ties, but they're drenched because they're going up and down, do this, do that, do this, do that. Management is a very physical activity.
No, it's definitely physical, but I think it's also mental, and I'm sure that the mental part of it and the goal oriented part of no pun intended, goal oriented,
Yeah.
but that part of it and wanting the team to succeed and every kid to go there, to do his best, that I bet you that mental energy drives some of the acceleration of your physical being, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally. So I have to ask you this though, as we're winding down. I know you said that the stars of the book may be near. Are they near?
Oh, let me see. Hold on. You mind if I yell?
Yeah, yell. That's what parents do.
Hey, AJ, Francesca. AJ. Oh, they're coming. They're coming.
You
They
hear
were
the
downstairs.
light footsteps.
Full disclosure, I warned them that you might want to see them. Come on.
Okay.
Dana wants to say hi. So this is Francesca Rose.
Francesca, how are you?
Good.
You've actually met Dana before. He and his wife Lauren stayed at our house recently. And
You were by the pool.
Come to the other side, AJ.
And the other star of the book. There they are.
There they are.
All right. So how cool is it to see you guys in a book? That's pretty cool, right?
I love it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So have you told your friends about this book or what?
I never told my friends. I told some
AJ, they saw the book already, honey.
Yeah, that's good. There he is, the dream grabber himself.
He's already a pitch man at 8 years old.
Wait, this is recording?
Yeah, we're recording this. You guys are going to be famous.
We're already famous. This is going to be on TV.
Did you say you're already famous?
Yeah.
I love that. That's the confidence we want.
Well, they were on Good Morning America.
Is this going to be on TV?
And they went to school the next day, and they were kind of famous for a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this going to be on TV?
Yeah, we're going to put it on TV. We're going to put it on Facebook TV. Nah.
What kind of TV did that?
It's a real TV. It's real TV.
So how cool do you guys, are you enjoying reading the book or having it read to you or what?
It's live on Facebook.
You're live on Facebook right now.
I know.
AJ.
You can give everyone a wave. There's thousands of people that are seeing you guys right now. AJ, how's soccer going?
Good. Tomorrow's our last game.
Oh man.
Dad, can we call Tyler today? It's his birthday.
Oh yeah, I didn't know it was Ty's birthday.
No, it is.
Definitely.
His birthday's the 30th.
Okay.
We have to call him, Dad.
All right, we will.
There we go. There's that love, folks. There's that love that we see right there. That's good parenting right there.
Oh, thank you, Dana. I really appreciate it.
No, it's good. I'm glad you guys were able to come on and we were able to talk about this because what people don't know about a book is that it's writing it is the fun part, but there's this whole other part where you have to tell people about these great books, or else they are great books that don't get to have the impact and the influence that they should have on people.
Thank you.
Facebook was watching this.
Oh, everybody on Facebook. But Coach Dana, he's the famous one.
No.
A lot of people that watch him.
I'm famous.
You're famous?
Yeah.
Well, you're famous in my house.
Oh my
That's
God.
right.
Facebook, guys, if you want, so we went to Steals and Deals. So yeah.
Oh, when you were on Good Morning America. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we are famous.
That's true. Super famous.
Super famous.
We have
All right. I'm gonna let you guys go so I can properly
Ow.
thank Dana.
It
Okay.
was good seeing you guys. I think we may see you in Florida, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm gonna knock on wood. You know, as long as everything's okay and we can still travel from state to state. We're gonna get down there hopefully in January and love to spend. I don't know, honey. Let me say thank you to Dana, and then I'll be with you. Thank you.
Bye, AJ.
Bye.
No, so that's super cool. Well, John, I want to thank you for doing this and not just doing the show, but writing the book. Because look at that. That's a beautiful award. We can show that.
No, it's okay. Please
Okay.
continue.
Okay. No, so no, I appreciate that you wrote these books because I do believe that books have the power to help a lot of people, and the kids need it quite a bit, and that's I know that's why I do what I do, and I know that's why you did what you did. So I have to ask you one more time, hold them both up, and then tell us about that special website where we can go grab those.
Yeah, so the books are called Dream Grabber and Dream Jumper. The author is John R. Green. I use my middle initial professionally because you may know that there's a really amazing author, far more talented than I, named John Green. He wrote Fault in Our Stars and other really great young adult novels. But yeah, you can go to timetodreambooks.com. You can learn more about the books there. There's a really fun trailer which shows you a lot of the illustrations inside the books, and you can actually purchase them right now on Amazon.
Yeah, and we're recording this right in holiday season, so good time to get those stocking stuffers and Hanukkah gifts.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Help me send my kids to college.
Yes, there it is. There you go. Hashtag
Right.
help me send my kids to college.
Yeah, I gotta say, Dana, I don't know how you do this. You don't even have notes.
Yeah.
Like, how you just do these interviews. I mean, I watch the interviews, but do you do them and you just remember what it is that you want to ask? You don't write anything down?
I do them the same way I coach people, right? I coach in real time. So I just believe in the art of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And if for me, if I'm too scripted or scripted even at all, I may be thinking too much about what I'm going to say next and not enough about what you're saying in the moment. So that's how I do it. So.
Oh, okay. You froze for a second, but I think
Yeah, no, I was just saying when it comes to to this, I enjoy the conversation, and if I'm too scripted, I'll miss just being in it with you.
Yeah, I hear you.
Lauren, come here. Lauren has a question for you. We have one more special guest, John.
Oh.
The final question is Lauren's going to ask
John.
it today. They go way back.
Wait a minute.
I love you, John.
Stop. So this is the real star of the show.
I have no makeup on.
Are you kidding? This girl is drop dead gorgeous from the moment she walked into ABC. How many years ago was that?
Oh my gosh. I can't even think off the top of my head.
We worked together very
13
closely.
years ago, maybe?
Yeah. Lauren was my assistant for several years, and just as beautiful on the inside as she is on the outside.
John took a chance on me. He hired me. So thank you, John. I'm forever grateful to you.
It was a good decision. So what's the question?
What does the word champion mean to you?
Oh, good question. Champion. Well, I think I have an answer for that. I don't think a champion necessarily means somebody that's winning. I think a champion is somebody that's living with conviction, that is following their passions, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Whether their passion is art or music or sport, or it's anything, doodling, gardening, anything. I think that a champion is somebody that has the conviction that they're going to take their passion seriously, and they do anything that they can do to pursue that passion.
I love that. That's good. I like it. Whenever we ask that question, there's always a unique response back, and it's actually never about winning. So it's cool that to hear everybody's different perspectives. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. And thank you again for everything. It's so good to see you. And I can't wait to see you guys again in person. Hopefully, like I said, in
January.
Can't wait.
January. The weather's warm. It's ready for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Cool. John, thank you. And we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Love you both.
All right. Love you, John.